Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Morgan Wolf. New this afternoon, it appears that Mayor Jacob Frey will get a third term. Final results coming in just before noon, declaring him the unofficial winner. After tabulating the first and second round votes, Frey captured just over 50%, which is enough to give him the win. Omar Fateh finished second with just over 44% of the vote. The next two main challengers, Duane Davis and Jazz Hampton, were both eliminated in round two of ranked choice voting. A record number of 55% of voters cast their ballot on Election Day.
We're going to hit the ground running. We are going to have an ambitious agenda that is set up. We are going to be working not just on overarching priorities like affordable housing and safety, police reform, economic inclusion and recovery, but we're going to have some real tangible things where we're going to be working together with council members to get done as quickly as possible. This city is on the verge of a great comeback. And the way it will come back even faster is where we are all working together.
Now, in a statement this afternoon, Omar Fateh thanked everyone that was a part of his campaign, saying that from the beginning they knew that they were up against a powerhouse and that they built a campaign rooted in dignity, care, and courage. This afternoon, Representative Kali Herr celebrating her victory as the city's next mayor after defeating incumbent Mayor Melvin Carter in St. Paul's race. In the first round of voting, Carter and Herr were neck and neck, with neither being able to hit that 50% threshold to win outright. But just after midnight, the results for round two dropped, and Herr came out on top with 47.8%, beating out the two-term mayor that she previously worked for.
When we got into this race 3 months ago, no one thought we could win. Nobody believed in us. No one had the political courage to stand up. The thing that made me the most sad was knowing that people were so unhappy, and yet they were willing to accept the status quo.
This has never been about me, and this has never been about my team. This has to be about the city, and that means we have to set her up for success.
What could have led to Representative Herr's success? Moments before her victory was locked in, we spoke with a U of M political scientist who gave us his take.
Herr really was the one credible challenger who people could vote for who wasn't Melvin Carter. I think there was a lot of sense in St. Paul that things were not heading in a good direction. There was unhappiness with property taxes and the way things were going downtown and in the Midway neighborhood.
Herr will be the city's first woman and first Mon mayor of St. Paul. All right, checking in now with the school districts, though. 63 districts across the state asked voters to raise taxes for the schools. That's more than 4 times higher than an average year. Audrey Russo is at the live desk right now with some of these election results and their impact.
That's right. A lot of districts are dealing with budget deficits, and school leaders are relying on levies and increased property taxes to make up that gap. And voters in several big districts signed on for that. In Farmington, voters approved an $8 million a year operating levy. That's around $450 a year for an average homeowner. And that's to keep class sizes relatively stable and to strengthen high school career pathway options. Now in Lakeville, voters there greenlit the renewal of a capital projects levy, so $4 million will go towards security and educational technology. And Rosemount, Apple Valley, Eagan, voters there approved a capital projects levy, and that money is earmarked for cybersecurity, learning devices, and tech support. Voters in the Crosby Ironton district approved their $1.5 million a year levy. Now, that district is facing a $1 million budget deficit, so they're now joining the roughly 70% of Minnesota school districts with an operating levy in place.
Now, overnight, Democrats claiming major wins across several high-stake races nationwide in the first major election since Donald Trump regained his presidency. Virginia and New Jersey elected new Democratic governors, while in New York, Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani claimed a victory in the mayoral race with the biggest voter turnout since 1969. California voted in favor of congressional redistricting as well, potentially letting Democrats to claim as many as 5 new seats in next year's U.S. House elections. Now, in response, President Trump blaming Republican poor performance on the government shutdown. Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform last night saying, quote, Trump wasn't on the ballot and shutdown were the two reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight. This morning, at a breakfast with Republican senators, President Trump reiterated that position.
I thought we'd have a discussion after the press leaves about what last night represented and what we should do about it, and also about the shutdown and how that relates to last night. I think if you read the pollsters, the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans.
Now, it is also a historic day in our country, day 36 of the government shutdown. It is now the longest shutdown in U.S. history. For the 14th time, Senate Democrats voted down a House-passed funding bill to end the stallment. However, after weeks without any movement, some senators are predicting the impasse could end this week as bipartisan talks continue to pick up. Meantime, President Trump is trying to put a positive spin on it all at a forum in Miami, highlighting the economy. Gabe Gutierrez has more.
On the anniversary of his re-election to a second term, President Trump is heading here to Miami to speak at a forum for business leaders and global athletes about what he sees as his economic achievements. A senior White House official tells me that the president is expected to focus on affordability, gas prices, and energy dominance. But this also comes as a recent NBC News poll found that nearly 2/3 of registered voters say that they think Trump has fallen short on their expectations on the economy. The White House, though, seeing this as potentially a way to turn the page after last night's difficult election results for Republicans. The White House and the president urging Republican senators to get rid of the filibuster, and the president stressing that one of the reasons Republicans might have not done well last night is that he was not on the ballot. And President Trump also saying that Democrats are not getting enough blame for the ongoing government shutdown. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News, Miami.
Right now, a major sticking point for Democrats and Republicans is extending expiring Affordable Care Act subsidies. The expiration of those tax credits, plus increasing health care costs in general, have many Minnesotans facing jaw-dropping insurance increases. And as Gordon Severson reports, the rates are well above what was estimated just a few weeks ago.
Definitely, we've had an increase in calls. People are panicked.
At Crosstown Insurance in Hopkins,
It's been busy.
Shawnee Christensen is having difficult conversations with her clients.
Yeah, some people cry.
Overwhelmed when they see the numbers.
She is a 52-year-old female. For 2025, her premium was $453.12. For 2026, that exact same plan jumped up to $680.31. So we're looking at about $230 a month.
Extra money many of her clients can't afford.
We are worried that folks will have some sticker shock.
Minsure CEO Libby Cullum says, on average, Minnesotans will pay an extra 21.5%.
Unfortunately, it's a higher increase than we've seen in recent years.
And if federal tax credits are allowed to expire, many Minnesotans who rely on those credits could see even higher price increases. For example, a family of 4 with 2 young kids that earns $100,000 a year would still qualify for federal assistance, and bronze-level plans through Minsure would cost between $400 and $700 a month. But look what happens if the same family makes $150,000 a year, which in 2025, they still would have qualified for a tax credit. But next year, that credit could go away, and the same plan would cost between $1,200 and $1,400 a month.
This is a jump.
A jump that is front and center of the federal government shutdown, with Republicans and Democrats debating whether these tax credits should continue.
Hopefully we'll hear some sort of resolution soon, but at this point, yeah, it's definitely a talking point.
Right now, insurance agents say that a lot of clients are deciding to wait and see how things play out in Washington before they sign up for health insurance next year. Agents are worried, though, that this will create a logjam at the end of the year, since the deadline to get health insurance is in place for December 15th. Also, if that shutdown doesn't end in the next few days, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is warning that there could be chaos in the skies next week if air traffic controllers miss another paycheck. He says that the department may need to close some parts of the U.S. airspace if enough air traffic controllers don't show up to work. Today, U.S. Supreme Court began hearing arguments over legality of President Trump's global emergency tariffs. Anti-Trump protesters were seen gathering outside of the court this morning. Earlier this year, President Trump imposed tariffs on almost all trading partners under a law designated for the use during a national emergency. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court will weigh whether he has the authority to do so. President Trump earlier called this case, quote, life or death moment for the country. Ahead of the oral arguments, Democratic senators held a press conference calling on the Supreme Court to rule against Trump's tariffs.
These are reckless tariffs. They're allowing Trump to tax any good from any country for any reason, as long as he calls it an emergency. But Trump doesn't have the legal authority to call this an emergency.
Today, the Doctors Council SEIU are on a one-day ULP strike. They went outside several Allina Clinic sites across the metro, including Minneapolis, Coon Rapids, West St. Paul, and Richfield. The union says that they want fair contracts, safe staffing, and better care. This afternoon, officials say at least 9 people are dead and 11 are injured after a plane crash in Louisville, Kentucky. New video captured by a security camera at a local business shows the moment of crash in the following massive fire. That crash happened near the city's airport last night, just as a UPS plane was taking off for Hawaii. The plane was loaded with 38,000 gallons of fuel to make that long-haul trip. Louisville is UPS's biggest air hub worldwide.
Because this is a UPS town. We all know somebody who works at UPS, and they're all texting their friends, their family, trying to make sure everyone is safe. Sadly, some of those texts are probably going to go unanswered.
The Kentucky governor has previously confirmed that 16 families reported their loved ones missing. Officials are saying that they fear the death toll will rise. With us, we got more news and weather coming up after the break.